Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, friends. I really do hope that, and welcome back to Chelsea News, of course. That's right, the daily series here on this channel where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, which, let's be honest, there's a lot. I give you my opinion on it. More importantly, I ask for yours. FFP, are we okay? Chelsea looking at a central midfielder. Praise the Lord, etc., etc. Also a striker, really? Aubameyang, Kai Havertz, David Datro Fofana. Two conventional lines there in Aubameyang and Datro Fofana. Even though Aubameyang looked okay off the bench last time out, it just doesn't feel like it's the answer. But do we play a more fluid front three with Kai Havertz, Mykhailo Mudryk, and João Felix? I mean, as a front three, that's just potent, isn't it? But, yeah. I mean, yeah. We're going to talk about Moises Kaisado from Brighton. Money that's going to cost. Ben Jacobs talking about financial fair play where Chelsea are at. And Dusan Vlahovic, as Liam Twomey cites the striker as an option or someone who Chelsea should sign. Thank you for joining me. Please do consider dropping a like to support the content. It means a lot. I do appreciate you all very, very much. You're welcome to subscribe as well. All right, then. Let's get into it. So before we talk about big numbers and big money, let's talk about financial fair play. Because Ben Jacobs has said that Chelsea are still in line with financial fair play rules, even after all the big spending so far. Bilal Eghbali is across the financial books, who of course is the representative from Clearlake and the face of Clearlake in the consortium. Of course, it's always Eghbali and Bowley. Long-term contracts to the likes of Badiashile and Mudryk helps with this. Chelsea challenge is they can't do this every window. Sales may be necessary. Now, yes, we can't spend $500 million every transfer window every season, of course. And to be honest, you want to get to a scenario where you're not craving transfers every season. Of course, transfers always give you that dopamine hit in the head, that exciting reward response of, something new, novel, and exotic. But the truth is, you want to transfer because you're unsatisfied often. If you've got an amazing team and a good bench, you're cool. You're not being like, we need to spend loads of money. No, you need to give incentives to your current good players to play well and get their bonuses and stuff. That's where the money should go. And the infrastructure, the training facilities, the academy, etc. Not always let's just spend hundreds of millions on new European talents from around the world. Because if you're doing that, it means you're not in a good place. And of course, the desired effect and the target is to get in a good place. Now, of course, the big contracts, the 8.5-year deal for Mykhailo Mudryk is to slice up the money, the transfer fee onto the books to amortize it across the contract length. It helps with financial fair play. Doing this with Badiashile as well, and indeed, other players. It's because it does it with the wages as well. It's smart. I do think we're safe in financial fair play because, like I've said recently on the channel, one of the earlier things that Todd Bowley said when interviewed was that financial fair play is beginning to bear its teeth. And, Clearlake Capital is all about that money. And if Bilal Eghbali is across the books, then one would hope that Chelsea are in line with financial fair play. So that being said, we are looking to do yet more business this January. So let's talk about that. So, Moises Kaisado, the Brighton CEO Paul Barber has come out, interviewed, and he said it would cost a lot of money to take Kaisado away from Brighton in the January transfer window. So I'm citing Ben Jacobs on Twitter, @JacobsBen, saying this: Chelsea are actively exploring signing Moises Kaisado, which kind of means for me Enzo Fernandez is out the window. Yeah, I mean, he'd be cheaper, of course, Kaisado, but how much cheaper? Listen to this. Although Brighton maintain there are no offers yet, which I can believe, that he's been told Chelsea are prepared to pay £65 million plus. Brighton would not expect 75 million. Brighton would expect 75 million plus to consider a January sale. 75 million pounds. What's that? 85 million euros for this guy that's come out of nowhere that they would have paid nothing for. So Ben goes on to say this. Kaisado has new agents incoming, but they haven't started yet. This means Chelsea will likely have to go to Brighton first. The challenge in January remains agreeing a fee. Brighton will want a significantly larger fee than the £62 million we paid for Marc Cucurella. £62 million we paid for Marc Cucurella, and he may well come good. He's 25 years old, he's positionally versatile, and he was very good at Brighton. Before we bought him. And having said that, he has been poor. He was benched for a teenage midfielder in Lewis Hall to just get sort of focus out a little bit. Is that better? I think so. In Lewis Hall to play left back rather than him, and he should be playing left back. He's 25. He is a left back. Lewis Hall is a 19-year-old or 18-year-old central midfielder who's playing left back and being preferred to him. Now, I'm not sure that's going to be a long-term thing. You know, you'd have to think Cucurella will eventually be utilised. He has come through that Barcelona academy, but just my musings on a £62 million player, you think, we overpaid. There is some people that think maybe there was a touch of the Jorginho and Maurizio Sarri. We got Jorginho for an inflated fee. Remember, Man City wanted Jorginho, but they wanted to pay like X amount. We paid 10 million more, but it was almost like a sort of gentleman's agreement there because we were taking Sarri off them. That, you know, we pay a little bit more for Jorginho. I'm speculating here, but I wonder if there was a little bit of the same with Brighton, like if you are, because maybe there's speculation that we were planning on Potter for a long time. It's like, if you're going to take Potter, you got to start a good relationship here, and pay a bit more for Cucurella than Man City are going to pay, and also and then we won't buy Levi Colwill. We'll only loan him, so you keep him as the player. Of course, Levi Colwill, the young another teenager, left-sided centre back, left-footed, very very good indeed. One of the best performing centre-halves in the Premier League since he's come into that Brighton side. He was, of course, in the same box as Mykhailo Mudryk yesterday, hanging out with him, watching Chelsea beat Crystal Palace 1-0. News was since broken today, actually, that he's been considered for an England call-up, quite rightly. So, by the way. So, Kaisado for £75 million. Look, man. 120 million for Enzo Fernandez. Look, the thing is with Kaisado, he looked good in the Premier League already. For as long as he's been there, he looks good. He was a sort of ready-made replacement for Yves Bissouma, who doesn't seemingly even start for Tottenham Hotspur, who in many ways look like they're imploding. I don't know if he's injured at the moment, but certainly Bissouma wasn't starting for Antonio Conte's Tottenham. But we need a new midfielder. We just do. Granted, Gallagher, rather interestingly, didn't look awful in the double pivot next to Jorginho. In fact, he had a really good game in the double pivot and offered those legs next to Jorginho. We just needed a bit more confidence. And Kante will come back. And Chelsea do want to extend N'Golo Kante. But we still need to buy a midfielder. And maybe it is Kaisado. Well, Paul Winstanley, Macaulay, Graham Potter, and all his coaching team will know about him, will know how to play him. It won't be like this random, talent coming from abroad who you're trying to find how to implement into your football, like Mudryk. But the good thing about attackers is you can afford to make more mistakes with attackers, but the further back you get in the pitch, you can make less and less mistakes until, of course, you get to the goalkeeper where you really can't make any mistakes. I'm looking at Hugo Lloris yesterday. So maybe it is smart just getting Kaisado, and if they can, like I said earlier in the video, if Chelsea are safe in financial fair play, maybe they just do spend the money on Kaisado, and it sounds like a lot of money, a lot of peas, but maybe it's the right thing to do. I'll be very, very interested in hearing what you guys have to say about Moises Kaisado. A lot of people are very excited about the idea of him. Yes, it's not as fun and as sexy as the Enzo Fernandez signing with all his passes, but, if we've got players like João Felix dropping deeper in a free role, playing passes, and the wing backs coming back first choice, and players like Hall that move inside more and play passes, Maybe we'll be fine. Maybe we'll be okay. So let me know what you think of the midfield situation on Moises Kaisado, and let's move on. Okay, so jumping over to The Athletic now, on a column, an article of one player each Premier League team needs to sign in January. And, of course, the Chelsea correspondent Liam Twomey has written for the Chelsea segment, and he has chosen Dusan Vlahovic. And he writes this: the arrival of Mudryk plus João Felix on loan signal the ownership's desire to address Chelsea's startling lack of creativity in the final third. However, the right side of defence still proves a gaping void whenever Reece James is injured, and central midfield clearly requires a high-quality refresh. Pause. Of course, Trevor Chalobah looked pretty good, actually, at that right centre-back role. And to be honest, that back four against Crystal Palace wasn't awful. Granted, we ended with 4 centre-backs in the back four, which was just like ultimate, stinky defensive football. But, maybe Trevor Chalobah, although he won't want to go forward much, he'll want to defend more than attack. Maybe him at right back. And if we play like a 4-2-3-1, we'll just have enough attackers on the pitch to offer that width. And he can see us through until Reece James is back. But I feel like eventually we'll need a better alternative than Cesar Azpilicueta. And even if we can't get it this January. But if we get a midfielder, the rest is relatively academic for me, but a striker would be welcome. So let's read on. Goals, however, remain the key issue. We need creativity for those goal scorers. Arguably all of Chelsea's current attackers and the new arrivals are maximised around a true number 9 that isn't in the squad. And no, unsurprisingly, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang isn't the answer. Genuine elite 9s are rare, but Serbia international Vlahovic might fit the bill in terms of age. Of course, he's only 22, and he would still just about be in that Project 2030 vision, of course, that the new Chelsea ownership have, and player profile. And given the uncertainty surrounding Juventus's finances right now, he also might be gettable in January. Interestingly, and rather comedically, Arsenal Football Club are really interested in Vlahovic. They have been historically, and they might be again for this January. So they would, if Chelsea took Felix, Mudryk, and Vlahovic in one transfer window from Arsenal, in one winter transfer window, that would be quite astonishing. Truth is, we've got 2 9s in Datro Fofana and Aubameyang. Datro Fofana we're yet to see the situation. Of course, he's very cheap, and he's an investment one for the future, and he might need a loan to develop European football experience. Aubameyang, he's 33. He's just not the answer, is he? He didn't look awful off the bench, but clearly I think we'll all accept that as a mistake. And of course, Kai Havertz, after he should have had a hat-trick yesterday, but props to him, he deserves his flowers for scoring that winning goal. But he was interviewed on BBC, on Match of the Day I watched earlier. He was saying, look, I'm not a guy to score 30 goals a season, I never have been, He was in a purple patch playing like a sort of free role or whatever in Bayer Leverkusen and stuff like that. But he says, look, I'm not this guy, I'm happy to play this role, but I'm happy to play, but I'll do it, it's fine. But he's sort of saying, like, I want to drop deep on a combine. He's not an Erling Haaland, and that doesn't mean he's not a great player. He's a great player. He's very talented, and he's very gifted, Kai Havertz, but he's not a proper number 9, and he's saying it himself. So it's time to maybe get a number 9, or do we just bank on Datro Fofana and Breuer for the future? And, have all these, Nkuku, he likes to play off a striker as well, doesn't he? So it's very, very tricky the way you, when you think about it. But still, I want to get your guys' opinion on the potential striker. Do you think we should buy one? Should we look at Vlahovic? I'm very interested in hearing opinions on midfielders and strikers, so make sure you do comment down below. Thank you for liking the video, and of course, if you're yet to do so, I urge you to subscribe to this channel, Football Therapy. Alright friends, thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.